Hello everyone and good afternoon. When antibiotics were first introduced in 1844, they were considered a miracle cure. They were used to treat a great variety of diseases such as tuberculosis, salmonella, and pneumonia. They were intended to be used sparingly to preserve their effectiveness. Today, 80% of all antibiotics are fed to factory farm animals. Antibiotics make the animals grow faster and enable them to survive in healthy conditions. This system is creating antibiotic-resistant superbugs, making us all vulnerable to diseases that they won't cure. These superbugs are contaminating our soil, our water, and the very food we eat. Today, I hope to persuade you to reduce the consumption of meat and poultry in your diet. Lawrence Springs microbiologist TG Research Institute stated that we are producing 9 billion food animals, and by using antibiotics in food animal productions, we are creating drug-resistant pathogens that can then cause drug-resistant infections in you and me. As someone who suffers from a strong bacteria in the digestive system, I believe I can persuade you to reduce the consumption of meat from your diet. First, I will provide you the ways in which the use of antibiotics affect humans and animals. Second, I will explain what the USDA and the FDA have to say about this huge problem. And third, I will go through the conditions these animals live, the treatment they receive, and some solutions to this problem. Now, let's explore the other side of our modern meat. The meat industry revolution has brought with it the use of antibiotics to make meat more affordable to consumers and to increase its production. According to Patrick Boyle, the CEO of the American Meat Institute, meat is relatively bargain today compared to what it was 10 to 20 years ago. It's normal practice in the meat industry to mix antibiotics such as tetracycline and Bactrim to protect animals from E. coli infections. These drugs in livestock, food, and water are used as a substitute for healthier living conditions and to make chickens, pigs, and cows grow faster. According to former Purdue contractor Carol Morrison, chickens grow at a rapid rate that they reach slaughter within 6 to 7 weeks, growing to the point that they would die from heart attacks. Although the FDA approved the use of Bactrim in drinking water for poultry, the World Health Organization has declared its intention to reduce the overuse and misuse of antimicrobials in food animals by trying to terminate or phase it out for the protection of human health. The problem with feeding antibiotics to animals that are not sick is that it kills off weak bacteria and creates the perfect environment for antibiotic-resistant bacteria to multiply and thrive. When the meat industry routinely misuses and overuses antibiotics in this way, it threatens public health. Findings have found that exposure to various food animals through direct contact or their raw products led to health implications in humans, from which resistance to antibiotics is the most common one. KPC, a bacteria known to cause pneumonia, is the superbug that lives in the digestive system and can spread its resistance to other bacteria. According to the Institute of Health, David Henderson, who dealt with a huge outbreak of KPC in 2013, stated, "It began in the summer of 2011 when a woman carrying KPC was transferred from a New York City hospital to the NIH in Bethesda, Maryland. Even though the hospital was determined to keep KPC from spreading, after 5 weeks, a KPC bacteria turned out in respiratory culture. The hospital found that antibiotics were not working. 6 months after patient 1, 18 patients had been infected with KPC and 6 had died from it. Statistics have shown that over the last 3 years, daily infections resistant to antibiotics in humans and poultry animals has drastically increased. Salmonella causes more hospitalizations than any other foodborne illness and sickens more than 1 million Americans every year, and from which 200,000 are due to contamination with chickens. According to the environmental epidemiologists, the spread of MRSA, an antibiotic resistance bacteria that causes daily skin infections, was traveling from pig farms to people at a very rapid rate. In Pennsylvania, every year about 600 million gallons of pig manure is sprayed in the crop fields, so if you give antibiotics to animals, chances are that this manure will be loaded with indigestive antibiotics and antibiotic resistance bacteria that will land in our vegetables. Now that I have explained how animals and humans are affected by the use of antibiotics, let's find out what the USDA and the FDA think about this problem. According to a report released in May 2001 by USDA's Economic Research Service, the U.S. hog producers saved about $63 million in feed costs in 1999. Due to their use of low levels of subtherapeutic drugs that year, they would have suffered an estimated loss of $45.5 million if antibiotics were banned. According to the same report, discontinuing the use of antimicrobial drugs in hog production would not only decrease feed efficiency, raise food costs, reduce production, and raise prices to consumers, but animal production could have serious economic effects on the meat and poultry industry. Because of this, the Food and Drug Administration has failed to take meaningful action to curb antibiotic misuse and overuse in meat industry. Even though the USDA aims to protect consumers from the dangers of E. coli bacteria, they are against labeling meat products nor to use the term chemical-free on a label. The FDA has proposed voluntary guidelines to encourage farmers and animal pharmaceutical companies to collaborate on this public health issue, stating that the collaborative approach is the fastest way to implement the changes outlined in the guidance number 213. Now that you know how these two agencies think, let's talk about the real conditions and treatment that livestock receive and possible solutions. Aside from antibiotics, animals are driving to death by their living conditions under treatment. According to Robert Hawks, Chief CDC's Foodborne and Diarrheal Disease Branch, animals are living in medieval conditions and we're living in the 21st century. According to Carol Morrison, the control over her farm and constant demands for upgrades to housing and equipment by her contract with Purdue Farm was something she could not agree with. As a result, her contract was terminated. She stated, "Having not grown up in the system, it was impossible for me to understand that we weren't allowed to speak or that we had no say over how operated our farm and the raising of the chickens. Picking up the chickens and having to kill many that weren't thrifty uniform the size that the company wanted was a daily chore. But this is not all. Besides the human treatment and conditions in which these food animals live, more than 300 animals may pass through the slaughterhouse line in an hour, incrementing the chances to become infected due to the way these animals are killed. Although the chances of meat becoming infected this way with bacteria are high, others ironically that meat and poultry is safe. It's safer than it's probably ever been, and believe that it's probably the safest thing we can eat because it's inspected. So by reducing the consumption of meat, we can diminish the production of meat, therefore reduce the killing of the animals and improve our health and natural environment. Now that you know where our meat comes from, it's time to do something about this problem that has been around for a long time. Today, we discovered the hidden side of the meat production. First, I provided you the ways in which the use of antibiotics affect the animals and humans. Then, I talk about what the USDA and the FDA have to say about this problem, and also, I went through the conditions and treatment in which these animals live and its possible solutions. I'll leave you with this. It's time to take action now, so by reducing our meat consumption, we can improve our health and quality of living and offer future generations a better chance to live longer. And remember, cheap food at the end is too expensive. Do not wait until that happens. Thank you.